Hi.
Hi, I can see you all
Okay.
now.
Okay. Brenda,
Thank you.
is everyone here?
Yeah, it's working for me now too.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to do rebuttals on your case and then go over some disadvantages. Um, Two, I'm going to go over. One is it creates confusion among different departments, and then the second disadvantage is a waste of money. So the affirmative side had come up here and said that they wanted to assert mechanisms over this visa warrant, and somehow this would solve all the problems that they saw, which included nuclear wars, nuclear wars, environmental damage, risk to social security, foreign terrorism. However, under our side, we see that this is totally non-topical, since first of all, they did not provide how many people will really be affected. They just said the whole world will be affected. However, how can we take this to consideration if they don't give us the real numbers? Secondly, they never said how to implement this, how this will exactly work, and how you ensure that this will work. So they just came up with a plan, and they are just saying that it will work. However, they never proved that. And also, what's the significance? Can they really prove that this thing will lead to all these huge problems that they have stated? No. And also, they also never provided any a working model, so we don't know if this will work, so it's insignificant. Secondly, they did not provide a funding. We don't know where this money is coming from, so we don't know where this money is coming from to establish this new act under their side. So we're just going to assume that this money comes from taxpayer dollars, and and also they did not provide any context on whether people actually want this implemented, and if their plan is so great, why isn't it implemented in the current status quo now? So, okay, so this will, so under their side, they're just gonna, they said that this will lead to an abuse of intel gathering. However, there wasn't really any specific evidence and numbers provided on this. And also, we see that there are and we see that there are, in the current status quo, there are many different surveillance, modern surveillances. So fighting against this one particular identification will misconstrue the nature of the whole surveillance system that we have in the society. And also, yeah, so now I'll be moving on to my disadvantages. So firstly, under their side, this causes confusion among the different departments. So basically, they only said that the federal government will pass this act. However, they did not say which departments will be involved in this, and what exactly are their specific plans into implementing this. So of course, their reform is very vague, and it will get complicated fast. And also, quote, and it's also hard to figure out what departments are actually doing or how to compare them. Within a single metro area, multiple departments could be operating under different rules or different standards of rule enforcement. This is from 538 June 2020 by Amelia Thompson. So this shows that there are many different departments, and since their reform was very vague, we can't be sure whether this will really be really work in the society, because we don't even know which departments are exactly implementing this. And secondly, it is a waste of money and no improvement will be made. So it will be a waste of money because, as I stated earlier, they did not provide a funding, so we're gonna assume that this is coming from taxpayer dollars, and also we say that it is a waste of money because quote, an LSO study estimates that it costs between $450,000 and $40,000 to propose, draft, and adopt a new piece of legislation. This is from WyomingNews.com, January 9, 2011. So this shows that establishing a new act actually costs money, which we've identified here. And since they did not provide that, we're going to assume this comes from taxpayer dollars. And so why is this? So now, so this further harms society because they're basically they're gonna take some money and then put it into this, and we're not even sure whether this will work. And secondly, they did not even provide the numbers on how many people will be affected and what are the criteria for this. So under that, we stand. Thank you.
Very low cost.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your impact for this act?
The impact is that it causes it wastes the money of the taxpayers.
That's an legal in terms. I'm asking for the impact.
What do you mean? I provided.
So just losing money.
Losing money, and this deprives the society of what they could use this
How much
money.
money? How much money will it lose?
We don't know because you never specified on how much money this will take.
But does your evidence have anything specifically about BISAP, or is it just in general?
Does that matter?
That matters a lot. You're talking about like our bias that that includes your dissent. So I'm just asking. Because if you have nothing about bias, then it doesn't mean. So I'm just asking, is there anything about bias?
I provided evidence based on the federal government.
I don't care if it's in the federal government. I'm just asking if it's related to bias or not. Yes, no.
Since you said that you're passing this under the federal government, and since we provided evidence talking about the federal government, yes, it does link.
I have a question. Is FISA a bill?
Yeah. What?
Is FISA a bill?
That's your side.
No, I'm asking you. Is FISA a bill? Because all your evidence is about passing a bill is expensive, but is FISA a bill?
I never said passing a bill.
Yeah, your evidence.
I said that under your side, what we got from your side is that you guys are passing an act to.
Is FISA an act? Are we passing an act?
I don't know. You never specified.
Did you look at our plan text?
We did.
Is restricting prosecution to passing an act?
Restricting prosecution.
That's not passing an act or passing a bill.
And
so, how does your evidence stand if you don't pass an act or a bill?
it stands. Because I provide. Are you just gonna ignore a piece of evidence that?
No. I'm just saying, how would that stand if you don't pass an act or a bill? Because your evidence is about passing an act or a bill.
It's a piece is abolishing or enforcing. I stated enforcing or abolishing a piece of legislation.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to specify, what's your internal link for the money? Is that
Our internal link for the. So basically, we already stated that this costs money. So then this takes money from the taxpayers, and then this harms society.
how does it cost? It costs money.
I just provided evidence.
You can repeat that again. It's okay, you can just tell me.
I think that's time for cross-ex.
Okay. We're gonna take some prep. 8 minutes starting now. Start time at 5:45. The order is going to be case, money dissent, confusion dissent. Sending out the doc. Did everyone get it?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Is anyone not good? Cool. So
Yeah, I'm ready.
The order of case is politicization and intel gathering, and confusion, then money. Is anyone not good? First, they drop case entirely, but we'll extend it briefly. First on politicization advantage. The FBI is vulnerable to accusation of being political, and surveillance is already derailed, which means that they're incentivized to do this because of lack of oversight. We did provide means of implementation. The plan puts an external verification mechanism. It's about military officials and counterterrorist specialists who need credible intel to make tactical decisions. The magnitude is everyone. They never challenge the internal links away 100%. The internal link of deterrence capability against hybrid warfare means that you should assume some form of hybrid warfare occurs. And yes, it goes nuclear. Obviously, the public will not know about details about federal prosecutions, and that's common sense. FISA is the largest, if not only, flawed surveillance group in the status quo for policing on the intel gathering advantage. Elite kills our ability to enforce non-proliferation sanctions because it allows surveillance targets to create countermeasures. It leads to nuclear wars. Mutually assured destruction doesn't solve. States will nuke because they are more willing to take aggressive measures and end up miscalculating it. And they say that plan can't pass because we get circumvention. But our interpretation is that the actor is the USFG means other factors doesn't matter. And if any other interpretation is allowed to destroy the baby, then it becomes meaningless, and the plan the debate will become would the plan happen rather than the plan should happen. They never responded to this argument. And again, the affirmative movements all clash under any other interpretation. All plans would be shifted to a different department, and then they will always win. Again, they drop this argument. The debate shouldn't be shifted to a different department because it will mean that the app would always lose. Debating instead would be the best of clash, and which is internally to all debate and education. All other debaters will lose protocol skills, and the debate will become meaningless and default after interpretation. And also, clash is the internal link to education and fairness, which is key to protocol skills and actively being beneficial. Default the as interpretation, or else debate will become meaningless. And I'm just gonna add on to more case because, yeah. FBI constantly makes mistakes due to the etiquette internal process. That's NCX Quarter 331. Whereas wiretap the pages are not anomaly of the agency regularly making mistakes and neglects awards prosecutors to make the accuracy because it will be processed in the secretive and oversight of the advisor, which will be dependent on the advisor. FBI, to be honest, and having found 400 errors across the 5 years, this having of this is normally captured on the course, but not with FISA, and also status code checks are failing due to cultural and bureaucratic incentives. That's Vladik Chesley 4-1. The business execution sample for counter-terrorist and counter internal of the adult ensemble with the applicable of the reflected large and the counter specific pattern and shabby procedures, FISA course, and complete position to trust in the information widespread of problems and shoddy processing with prosecutors not in all instances. They just about whatever trust at risk. And on to money design. Offers of money to sell all their evidence is terms of passing an act or a bill that is expensive. That's obviously not our act. We are restricting prosecutors based on FISA warrants because there are a lack of oversight. Even if you don't buy that, it is not a waste of money. For systematic prosecutor warrants application for FISA in the status quo are stemming from the lack of external oversight. This pattern abuses politicizes intel gathering, undermining the broader legitimacy of the intelligence community, cascades into numerous impacts, kills our ability to enforce non-proliferation sanctions because it allows surveillance targets to create countermeasures. It leads to nuclear state. With nuclear wars, become more willing to take aggressive measures, and it will end up miscalculating the risk. We should wait the lives of safe. That's then save more money if even if we don't buy all our arguments. And on the conclusion is that the actors in U.S. that is clear indication since the 1AC. Just look at the plan. There's no confusion. We clearly reform policing at federal prosecution level. Our app uses the UFG, which is specific agent and federal prosecutions are part of the policing agent. The app regulates prosecutors by the FBI, and the FBI is a national organization and policing agency. They are not mutually exclusive. Policing sanctions includes federal prosecutions, which is exactly what the app is about. And we saw for oversight within the FBI as a whole, so that they can provide better intel. They vote this as they can choose any data. They just chose two this as that completely doesn't link to FISA, and they provided no evidence on how that links to FISA. The only thing they said is that it is related to the federal government. I have nothing else to say, so I'm just gonna add on to case. I'll send out the cards later. Back to politicization advantage. Trump camp is using the report of politicizing the IT desk like 449. What is transparency of American history has been on a daily basis on whatsoever couldn't say yet to yesterday bad faith before the how to effect of the allegation of the political efforts and intend to careless toss away such a firm and final judgment waiting for the plan to see extremely unlikely. That's not difficult to see where there is going. And also the plan sells robust oversight restores credibility. Robin 17. Allegation of political mismeasures of the element of supposed to be legitimators of the delegitimators of the appropriate investigation counter intel looks like a question about itself into unraveling of the FISA and our internal excuses to branches checks the presidency, and we should be hoping that the FBI and the House skills and integrity of the produce a result which we all can be confident. And also on politicization advantage. Politicization wrecks the IC morale, destroys intel effectiveness, and morale 17. Undermining the effectiveness of the way of the resignation of the attrition of the different skyrocket different between national security and sacrifice make it a difference reject out of hand vote with their decades of recover from the surge of the resignation and the president for this Trump who resignate convict the Turner of the departure of Hill by comparison. And politicization devastates moral across the government, includes the DOC, that's Goldsmith 17. Shower causes so that destruction and morale and crippling of the cultures and commitment and State Department breaks in the thing same way as the attacks to the public doubt and the independence and integrity of the reputation of these institutional before the nations and the aspiration within strong diplomacy prevents World War III. That's Gardner 19. Ancillary alliance will use the NATO and European, Japan, Australia, Israel, and Saudi Arabia against a global collection of power. The Moscow's Beijing axis of Turkey, Pakistan, India, similar to Nazis, Germany strategy, the major world power war politicizes the war, plausible regional conflicts, and anti-state terrorists has been struck to a major power between these rival alliance and constitution of the World War III has been very little to be complicated with the most difficult to accommodate with the potential rise of the number of power transnational terrorist organization further destabilizes the state and better we should engage in full-fledged diplomacy as soon as possible before it is too late to act. And that's key to global diplomacy and state stability. That's Star 17. Diplomats will work on the world of the complex and challenges to stay with the decision about how to pursue the engagement and numerous challenges in global stability that requires diplomacy's close relationship with international partnership. Terrorism is one aspect. An example of diplomatic trends to be held over consequences in global security, oil, population growth, and climate change for governance and migration of the U.S. was being more indispensable, but also more scrutinized, and the world was watching as the leadership was staking for the missteps, and that includes of the actions and leadership must be the development requires the delicate balance between the resources we have to make sure that the decision to find out of the resources that have been prioritized and to make trade-off in determining where the diplomats engage. And American democratic engagement numerically reduces conflict. That's Dallas 18. World War II aftermath, the U.S. really had to engage on the cooperative system between the top alliance and American leadership has been fundamental and mobilized alliance to common challenges about security and the economic system to trade and human rights, democracy, the rule of law. We'll see this in fact economic interest and the absence of the great power war that is put aside to the geopolitical competition. And Intel is key to counter hybrid threats. That's Garamond 19, and that is on the Intel gathering case page. Hybrid warfare in reality, the U.S. military combination and will deter hybrid warfare is now new, and the information of the element of the warfare is much more greater volume and velocity and breadth and depth with the representation of the previously possibilities. I'm gonna send out the new stuff.